You're always making rude comments. You never want to work with me. Why don't you like me?
You're a big phony.
What?
Everything about you's fake. Your tan's fake, your hair's fake.
Not the front.
You've never done or said anything real or genuine the whole time we've known you.
Oh, really? And does a phony bare her soul for the homeless? Because that comes from in here. My vagina is a convenience store. Clean and reliable. And closed on Christmas.
Fake and weird.
No, I would like to propose a toast.
Why don't we do this?
Lightning never strikes twice. And I know that I will love again. You're never going to be happy until I find that woman. I think what I'm saying to you is, what are you doing tonight? Kenneth, this is your chance. Sir, he digs you.
Why don't we do this? Why don't you like start off, say your name,
Excuse me?
and sort of give like a quick
She would do
uh,
with you.
synopsis of who you are and what you
That just
do.
makes me perspire. In fact, I think
My name is
you
Lindsay
and
Zimmerman,
Sergey
and I'm the
go
founder
hand
of Better Than. That's the company that I started back in 2018 with the goal of getting the Better Than Barter app up and running.
Well, I'm sorry, we have the big power tools out now, apparently, behind me. So
I'm not hearing it.
oh,
at
really?
all.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Can I help you?
Yes, sir.
Can you give me sort of? All right.
Oh,
So
no, it's fine.
there's
I mean,
a
you don't smell it.
there's a phrase like in media, like your elevator pitch. You know, imagine that you're in an elevator with an executive and you have a show idea and you have about 30 seconds or less. I don't know what the official time is, but to make your pitch as concisely as you can. What is this app? What does it do? And what are your goals for?
Better Than Barter is a social networking app that rewards members for doing favors for each other. And in this way, we will be able to build stronger communities and help every human being reach their full potential.
So it's a favor app, but help me imagine all the different ways, all the different things that could mean. Is it just babysitting? Are we talking about car repair? Are we talking about, a more conventional kind of barter? Like, I have some chickens back here in the backyard. Could I get something in exchange for eggs? What else? What kinds of things could we do with this app?
It gives me a headache.
This is a Krug
So my favorite thing about the app and the reason that it's named what it is, it's better than barter. And the reason that this is better is because
Isn't she precious? Hey, fun fact about Clem.
when I want to spend one of my favors, I don't have to trade with the person that I earned the favor from. I can spend that favor however I want. So, Lauren, let's say you gave me some editing work and you just charged me a favor for it. Now you've earned a favor and you can spend that in any way that you want, and you don't have to spend it with me, right? So maybe you could use that favor to get some more chickens, or maybe you could use that to have somebody come over and help you build a bigger and better chicken coop, because I know you love your chicken. But there's a whole nother level to that, because that's on the individual level. What happens when businesses in the community start to see how this practice is benefiting the individuals in the community? What happens when they want to come on board? What would that look like? So here, one of our big grocery store chains is Safeway. And I asked myself, what will happen when Safeway starts accepting favors? And a mother can go into Safeway, fill up her shopping cart, and pay with a favor. What if a favor became so valuable that you could use a favor to pay your utilities, or you could use a favor to pay your car insurance? What would happen if so many millions of people were willing to do favors for each other, that it was undeniable, and corporations had no reason to not accept those favors. That's the value of building currency.
So, Lindsay, I like the idea of what you're trying to do, but I think we're in a time where the stability of our supply chains and the entire world economy has never looked so tenuous. Given what's happened since COVID-19, it's not hard to imagine a scenario of total cascading system failures. Is there any way to alleviate the specter of diminishing resources and scarcity? Is there anything that you think you could offer in that situation?
When we talk about the unsettling environment that we're in at the moment, there's a sense that relief from that unsettled feeling is not anywhere near in the future, right? So it behooves us to get ourselves individually into the most stable environment that we possibly can. And I'm a true believer that when you create stability within your community, you can weather most storms. A community can weather most storms if their members are involved and they know each other personally. And so I think, particularly in the moment that we're in right now, it is so important to start truly intentionally building those community connections. So that we can weather the storm together.
And I just wanted to tell you that.
So this economic shakeup could have devastating effects on small businesses, while larger corporations consolidate even more power. Is this a direction that we should just accept in the face of these unprecedented times? Is there something inherently distasteful about the way these corporations operate that should give us pause about just allowing this to happen?
Essentially, if we're talking about businesses that are too big to fail, right? So there's a number of ways that you can structure your business. You can be a sole proprietor. You can start a corporation that has shareholders. Even charities are businesses. So there's many different ways that you can set up your business structure. And I think that many of the prominent businesses today missed their mark when they were deciding what values and what business ethics that they were going to run forward with. Personally, I believe that if a company is too big to fail, there needs to be one accountable entity. I don't think that it is ethical to sell off, hundreds of shares of your company and divert or delegate responsibilities to a board whose sole purpose is creating more wealth for their shareholders. That's, to me, fundamentally ethical if you aspire to be a business that is too big to fail. So when I say that I think the founders of these companies have really missed the mark when they were determining their company's missions, that's an understatement, really, because
this is super awkward, but
if you aspire to be the biggest, greatest in whatever industry you are in, there is a huge responsibility in that. And for someone to argue that that's not the case,
anyway, I meant to send these to my girlfriend,
it takes
Liz Lemler,
quite a bit of mental gymnastics to be able to justify some of the corporate behaviors that we've seen, whether it be from industries like energy or financial institutions or insurance institutions, all of these different structures and systems that are prominent in everyday people's lives
They were delivered to you. They're yours now.
really set a low bar of standards for ethics. And I think that any company moving forward
Like with your ID.
into
Is that all right? Yeah.
what
This is proof.
many people say, and I agree with, is a new world.
All right. There we go.
A light is being shown on those business practices right now.
Oh, that's a cute
And I think that
Thanks.
now is the time to set the bar higher. Now is the
Sorry,
time
buddy.
that we should hold
Happy
companies,
Valentine's Day.
especially companies that have become so large that they're deemed public services or public utilities. These companies need to be held to a higher standard of ethics. And if we want to know what those ethics should be, if we want to have a good understanding and agreement on what the ethics of these companies should be, there has to be resolutions agreed upon. For example, one of my personal resolutions, but also a resolution that I bring into my company, is that there's nothing more valuable than human life and human potential. So if that's my resolution, I'm not going to create company policies that undermine that value. If I believe in my heart, as a person, as an individual, but also as a business owner, that my companies should do no harm. It shouldn't be a pollutant to our planet. It shouldn't be a negative interaction in people's daily lives. Then I need to structure my company in such a way that I don't undermine those values. And so I guess I kind of challenge existing companies and any companies coming forward into this wild new world that we are moving into. I challenge you to consider your ethics and consider what role you plan to play in the future. Because if that role is going to be large, if that role is going to be an influence on hundreds of millions of people's lives, you need to hold yourself to a higher standard. And that's what my company does.
So your company, it's sort of a commerce app idea that you have, with all of this talk about business ethics. How do you propose keeping your app ethical? What do you need to make it happen?
I don't know. It's a Tina Turner song.
What's the biggest vision that you
It's
have
a song that
where this
Tina
would go?
Turner song.
Well, that's really
I
two
don't know much about it
questions.
beyond
What needs to happen to be able to hold my product to the standard that I've set?
The president has a plan for Iran.
That is member engagement, meaning all of the members are allowed to vet each other.
Dude,
All
I'm
of the
exhausted.
members
Stayed up
are
all night
asked,
watching
how was this interaction? Meaning, all of the members are allowed to vet each other. And so there's built-in quality control.
Then I fell asleep.
However, and this is a social networking app. This is not a social media app. So the app doesn't operate by people posting. The app operates and produces your feed based on what favors have been conducted, what members are looking for favors, what members are looking to spend their favors. And so
Hey Lutz, why don't you approach your job with the same
all of
creativity
that
and excitement you have for all
has been organized. All of those interactions have been organized in a way that is positive, that doesn't feed into division, and that gives the members a clear idea of where they are needed so that they're able to contribute. So that's how the ethics are built in to the way that the app works. But you asked me what is the vision for the future of the app? I am so driven to produce this app because of the network that it will provide. Because when we organize and structure our interactions with each other, we're producing trust. Organize and when a large group of interactions all have trust in each other, you're really able to create wonderful things. And so better than barter is just the beginning, because the membership is what's important. Eventually, that membership and the participation in the membership will be able to produce things like better than health share, better than childcare and education, better than enforcement, which is an interesting conversation to have in these times. So the fact that the app truly is just creating a social network is going to open up doors like we haven't seen. There's an aspect to the app that could be viewed in terms of an alternative financial system, I guess, because members trade favors with each other. When I really get excited and I'm kind of meditating on what this could eventually turn into, I picture, honestly, a new world where money isn't needed. People do things because they understand that contributing brings wealth into your life. People do things for each other because they understand that you cannot take without giving. And they move forward with that understanding, knowing that there is nothing more valuable than human life. That's the world that I envision moving into, and the entire structure of my company is set to be adaptable in that environment.
So, so just go make your app. I mean, you know what you know how you want to make it. What else do you need? Do you need anything else to get this started?
I could go out and I could get funding from venture capitalists or other types of investors who would see the value in this app, who would believe that it could be profitable. But I don't want their money. It's costly to build an app, and honestly, I need funds, but I'm not interested in a venture capitalist funds. I am interested in this app being funded by the people who are going to be using it, who are going to benefit from it, and who are going to help me design the roadmap forward for the company, because that's what it's going to take, is us all working together. So it's important to me where the funds come from. It's important that the funds come from the people who are invested, not just monetarily.
So let's talk. You know, we talked about the sort of economic uncertainty, and with all of this debt being injected into the system, you can sort of see a currency collapse coming. I mean, it's happened throughout history lots of times, and a lot of people are looking at cryptocurrency as possibly a lifeboat out of the dollar. And I think that's, there's a lot of issues with that in terms of like Bitcoin. There's a lot of, investor speculation there. It's very volatile. But I wonder if you have any idea of how, because this is an interesting idea, is there any sense that this could play a role similar to the way that cryptocurrency functions in a kind of egalitarian way without any middlemen? What do you see there?
Right now, the Fed is dropping billions of dollars every day into the bank trading markets. They've been doing this every single day since October. Okay. And the whole reason for that is banks end up running out of money, and then they get squeamish and they don't want to lend to each other. And so the Federal Reserve steps in and says, well, that's okay. We are going to put up essentially free money into these markets so that you all feel more comfortable lending money back and forth to each other. And that's really essentially the only reason that our financial market is continuing, okay? That money that is being dumped into those markets has no actual value, okay? And I don't want to get into fiat currency and fractional reserve banking systems and all of that stuff. If people are interested in that, there's several videos that you could go to learn about centralized banking and fiat currency and all of those things. If you want to learn about how the IRS was started, how the Federal Reserve was started, it is some shady, shady stuff in American history, and we should all know that history, but you got to go and learn that for yourself. But what's important to understand right now is that our money has no value. And in the same way that our money has, of the American dollar, has no value, Bitcoin has no value, Ethereum has no value. The only thing that is keeping any of these currencies in a state of acceptance as far as monetary value is concerned is people's belief that it holds value. And so I see, in considering that we may very well reach a point where there is a financial collapse, where the agreement that the American dollar has value no longer holds any water with the American people or the rest of the world. That's really what would happen if there was a financial collapse. And let's say we hopped on Bitcoin, or we hopped on Ethereum, or I think Facebook has their own cryptocurrency now, Libra. Let's say we hop on one of these other currencies. They fundamentally have the same disadvantage that the American dollar has, in that they have no actual value, okay? So when you are a member of Better Than Barter, you are earning essentially tokens, but we call them favors, okay? When you perform a favor for a member, you have also earned a favor. And these favors can be banked. So you could essentially save up as many favors as you need for whatever you would like to use them for. Also, the value of the favor is not placed on what the monetary value for the service or the good was that was traded. The value of the favor is whatever you want personally, you, with your favor, whatever you want to spend it on. And as long as the person that you want to spend that favor with is willing to accept your favor, they accept the value of the favor that you're offering. Because we're not producing monetary value with our favors. What we are producing is social trust. Social trust is far more valuable than any gold or silver or other metal that you could find on this planet. It is far more valuable than any dollar that you could get from any centralized bank, because social trust ensures that your community cares about you. It ensures that your community wants you to have resources. Because if you are lifted up, if you're not oppressed, if you're not impoverished, you are able to offer to your community your absolute best. And that's what your community wants you to offer. So we can talk about different currencies and what the alternatives might be, but what we should be talking about is, what do we want the alternatives to be? Not what money system should we continue, or should we decide to engage with after we leave the old one behind. what kind of currency system do we want to live in, period? Do we want social currency? Do we want social trust? Or do we want monetary currency and a pay-to-live society?
Well, it's a really interesting idea. It kind of seems like it's a just complete alternative to the monetary system we have now. And what might have seemed crazy, even 6 months ago, doesn't seem so crazy now. I think there's a lot of people that are still in denial that this economic thing is going to, they think maybe it's going to pull out and everything's going to be fine. But yeah, I think this could be something that saves our asses potentially, and I'm excited to talk to you about it. So
yeah, I think so too. I think about all of the possibilities of solving individuals' problems in their lives and what benefit that could bring to community, and how just having a network of people who are willing to support you and help you, not because they have some self-sacrificing baggage to unpack, but because it benefits them to help you. That's what it should be. We shouldn't be independent or codependent. We need to be interdependent. And if I can bring something to the market that is appealing, that is fun, and helps you gain social trust, that social currency that I believe is of the utmost importance, this is kind of a scary time. Nobody's ever experienced what we're experiencing right now. And everyone that I talk to, and I talk to a lot of people, and everyone that I talk to is looking for ways to live right. I don't know a better way to say that, but everyone is looking for, they're talking about homeschooling their children because they realize how good it is to have their kids home. They're talking about growing their own food because they don't know about the stability of our distribution systems. They're talking about making their own clothes and anything. People are grasping at straws right now, looking for anything that is going to make them feel that they have a sense of stability in their lives. That all those different avenues that people are going down to try to stabilize what they can touch. I want to amplify that. And with this app, the stability that you are going to produce in your own life just by contributing what you can, what you're able to your community, is tenfold the stability that any stimulus package that the government can offer us, or any new social distancing safety measures that is recommended, anything that these overarching power structures offer us pales in comparison to the stability that we can create in our own communities and by communicating with each other. And this app can do that. So let's get it out. Let's get it out. And someone asked me, aren't you afraid about letting people know exactly what you're doing? Aren't you afraid somebody's going to steal it? I think is kind of what they were getting at. And I say no, because if somebody thinks that they can do this better than me, if somebody thinks that they have the insight and experience and skill set to do this better than me with the ethics that I'm going to do it, I challenge you, please do it. I'm a mother of 3 children. I could be growing my garden and raising my kids. I don't need to launch a whole marketing campaign to support a product that I hope is going to be bigger than Facebook. I don't need to be doing that. I have so many fulfilling things in my life, but no one is doing this. No one is bringing this forward. And so I'm going to do it because it's something that I can see in the future. I know it's a possibility and it needs to happen. And so until somebody can come along and do it better than me, I'm going to keep doing this. And I challenge anybody to try to do it better than me. Please give me competition, make me sharper, because this needs to happen. So I think I wanted to get that across. Like, this is the way that we can stabilize, that we can organize. And I know that we all want to do it. I know that we do, you know, on one level or another. All of us want to know that we can live in a peaceful place and that our needs can be met and that we can fulfill our potential. So, yeah.
Well, Lindsay, I really appreciate you inviting me to talk to you about your business vision, and I'm excited to help you out with it a little bit as I have so far, and hopefully more in the future. And I think this is going to be an exciting technology to watch, and potentially a world-changing innovation, you know, if it happens the way you're envisioning it, and I can sort of picture it the way you can. So yeah, thanks for having that vision.
Yeah, thank you. And I could not be doing this without you. And when we think about like what our individual contributions can do, this is the perfect example. You know, it's two people coming together to support each other and try to make something happen. We can't do everything by ourselves. We need people and we need each other's skills, you know? And so I'm just so thankful. I feel like since I decided that I am going to, you know, bowl through a china shop, get this thing rolling, the universe has just been tripping over itself to help me. And yeah, it's a beautiful experience, you know? It's beautiful.